Alright, what we're going to do today is I got my good old, Yard Machine Tiller. Okay. The thing, I pulled it out a while ago, didn't want to start, didn't want to run. I traced it back to the carburetor being screwed up and not getting fuel. My guess is the needle is screwed up and stuck. I think the tip on the needle came off. So I went on Amazon and got a little carburetor here. Bought it for 10 bucks. So hopefully it's going to work. So it should be for this. This is a Tecumseh. I think it's Tecumseh. I don't know. But anyway, I got placement carburetor. So what we'll do is we'll put it on and we'll see. So what I'm going to do here is go through and tell you what you have to do to pull the carburetor. It's actually not too bad. It's actually a simple one to do. First thing what you got to do is you got to pull your air filter off. Okay, then you got these two screws here and here that you got to take off. It might work better socket here. Well, let me get some sockets and tools together and I'll show you pulling apart. Alright, I figured out the socket I need. You need a 1/4 inch socket for these two screws here, which you're going to take them off. Then you're also going to need a 5/16 socket for these guys, so that way you can get that loose. So what you do there is you just take this, go like that. Now that I got it broke loose, I could probably just use my screwdriver since they are slotted. There we go. So you take them two screws off there. Okay, once you get them off, what that does, that allows you to take off your piece for your air cleaner. Just watch your screws, make sure you don't drop them and lose them, and don't lose your O-ring. That's for that. Okay, now the next thing you should probably do is take this top cover off to get this out of the way, so then you can get in there and you can see your other bolt back there. Oops, sorry about my camera thing. I'm just doing it one-handed. So you take them off. This is where that box comes in handy. That came with everything. So, and of course the carburetor came with a new gasket too. So you don't want to lose that, but you can take your box that your carburetor came in and place your hardware in that box. So that way you don't lose it. Might need to get a wrench for that. Okay, so I have to get a wrench for that one because it's too close. So I just happen to have a adjustable here. A little bit big, but it'll work. So all you really got to do is just break it loose, then you should be able to unscrew it by hand. Wrench it. You could also probably use a socket extension on that. Do it with a socket extension. Yeah, if you had a long enough extension, which I don't happen to have out here. So that's not too hard. You just got to get the screw out. Makes life a little bit easier. So okay. Now, you got the screw out, so now you can move. Now you can move your on-off switch out of the way. So you can see how that works. When you slide it back for off, it grounds out. So stop, and then you move it for run. It doesn't ground out anymore. So it's just a simple ground switch. Okay, so now we can see the top of the carburetor. Okay, see two screws there and there, two bolts I should say going through, and you got a vent line, or breather line I should say. So you're going to want to pull that off like so, and turn that up out of the way. You got your fuel line right here too. You're going to want to get off. You're going to take a pair of pliers right here. You can just pinch your clamp. You should be wearing safety glasses while taking that clamp off. Whenever you're screwing with these clamps like that, make sure you have safety glasses on or eye protection. A friend of mine actually lost his eye to that back in back in the day when he was working on a boat, it came off and went into his eye and ripped his retina. So not good. Make sure, since this is old gas in this, make sure you have a container. I have an old iced tea container, and I would recommend to drain the gas out of it, because the gas is probably bad. And that could, you know, could be my case with that. It's just bad gas. So make sure you got something to catch the gas, and so you don't make a mess. You should just be able to make sure that clamps back out of the way. Pull fuel line, it should come off, and you could drain your, well, looks like maybe I already drained the gas out of it, or didn't have that much in there to start with. Might have drained it the other day. Yep, of course my tank's empty. So I guess mine evaporated from sitting, which happens. So okay, so now fuel line's off, vent line's off. Next thing you got to do is get these two screws off. That is a 3/8 you can use. Sometimes you can just grab it like so. It'll break loose. Oops. Stuff's blowing around here. So then you can just loosen that. Once you break it loose, you can just unscrew it and drop your nut, which rolls off the stuff. So, and as you can see, that's why you don't want to lose it, because it rolls off. So I'm going to set that in my little box so that way I don't lose it. And now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to undo the back one, if I can hopefully get in here and get to it. So sometimes you're able to just work the wrench around here and get in here, and you can get to it and break it loose if you're lucky. Could be my case with that. It's just bad gas. So make sure you got something to catch the gas, and so you don't make a mess. You should just be able to make sure that clamps back out of the way. Pull fuel line, it should come off, and you could drain your, well, looks like maybe I already drained the gas out of it, or didn't have that much in there to start with. Might have drained it the other day. Yep, of course my tank's empty. So I guess mine evaporated from sitting, which happens. So okay, so now fuel line's off, vent line's off. Next thing you got to do is get these two screws off. That is a 3/8 you can use. Sometimes you can just grab it like so. It'll break loose. Oops. Stuff's blowing around here. So then you can just loosen that. Once you break it loose, you can just unscrew it and drop your nut, which rolls off the stuff. So, and as you can see, that's why you don't want to lose it, because it rolls off. So I'm going to set that in my little box so that way I don't lose it. And now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to undo the back one, if I can hopefully get in here and get to it. So sometimes you're able to just work the wrench around here and get in here, and you can get to it and break it loose if you're lucky. Okay, so now I got that tight. What also might help you is have a 60-90 wrench. You can pick up them from like Lowe's or Home Depot. They're good tools to have because you can get in there and you can turn the stuff. Okay, so now my rod's still hooked up, didn't fall off, and it's still hooked up to the governor, the engine governor. Okay, so everything's still all hooked up, so that's good. So the next thing let's do is let's hook up our fuel line. Check, make sure your fuel line's clear before you do it, so that way you know it's all clear. Mine's clear. Okay, so then you just shove it up there on your new carburetor. You take your pair of pliers. Like I said before, if you don't have that hooked up to anything, make sure you have safety glasses on them. Them clips they will hurt you if you're not careful. So but you slide your clip back up there. They do have different pliers for it. This is just pair of pliers I grabbed. So now I got my fuel line hooked up. So let's turn your vent line back down, hook that up. Let's take our on-off switch, so that way if we need to turn it off, we can. Let's take our two screws and put that back on there. Put them back in there. going down and in. Let's get that one in. Usually you should be able to hand start them, run them pretty much all the way down by hand too. At least that's what you should be able to do with most of the screws, unless it's like a lock nut or something like that. So then you screw them down, make sure they're all nice and tight. Let's grab my socket. Let's see, where's my ratchets? I set my ratchet down over here. Okay, got my ratchet. And of course, drop it all. Make sure you tighten everything up. I know Butterfingers today, right? Alright, so let's see, that one's a little bit tight. I don't have that size wrench out here, I don't think. I don't think this is... Nah, I don't think that one would work. Yep. I think they're close enough. Oh, I do have it. Helps if I grab the right tools. So a wrench would help on that one, so that way you can tighten it up. Of course, make sure to use the appropriate size. Your tiller may not have the same size on it as this one does. Okay, so they're both tight now. Okay, the other way you could have got this off too is if you want to take off the exhaust. Take these two bolts here off. The exhaust comes out of the way, then you got this screw, you got another screw there, and you got one more up there under the exhaust. I think you got 3 of them. But you could take the exhaust off, take the intake off, but then you might want to have a new gasket for your intake. So that way you can make sure it's all good. So then the last thing you got left to put on is your air cleaner you took off. So it's not too bad. So you just got to, don't forget your gasket. So see, it's got a little ridge in there for the gasket. So it's not too bad. So you set the little gasket in there, push it down. Okay, don't lose your screws. Get your red tube. Oops. And of course, drop the gasket like I did. So let me find that gasket and I'll get it all back up there. Alright, this is one of them operations I needed 2 hands for. Because you got to push this little red thing over a little bit so then you can slide it back up there and try not to drop the gasket. Put your 2 screws back in and tighten them down. Then all you got left to do is take your air filter, put your air filter back on there, push it on there, slide and turn. Air filter's back on there. Now all you got left to do is check your oil, and put some fuel in there. And you should be good to go. Alright, as you guys can see, it's running. Doesn't sound too bad with the carburetor on there. Let's turn it on so you guys can hear. So, that's how you install a new carburetor I got from Tecumseh on the Yard Machine 5.5. So MTD Tiller. So, yep. So that's how you guys do it. Nice, quick, simple job. It helps to have 2 hands sometimes to do the stuff. So, not too hard to do. You could buy one of the kits that come with the air filter and a spark plug if you wanted to. Spark plug's easy to change. You pull the boot off. Make sure it's cool so you don't burn yourself. But you put your socket on there, break it loose. You can put some anti-seize on there. Just make sure you tighten the spark plug and don't leave it loose. So that's about it. Like I said, one thing to do is make sure you drain the gas out, put fresh gas in it. Stuff doesn't run on old gas, doesn't like old gas. So, you know, I know some of these things, they sit in a shed for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, and, you know, so, but that's going to be your quickest and easiest way. Guys, thanks for watching. If you like my video, please subscribe, follow. Mean a lot to see a bunch more subscriptions coming up. Thank y'all.